All right. Now us back here again. Stress, anger management, and body language specialists here to analyze the body language of Mr. Charlie Kirk being asked a question by this college student. Now, being confronted, I say confronted because certain point you can get college students or any kind of person that's being too aggressive asking questions. They might have a higher tone of voice, a louder volume, showing aggressive gesture. For example, overly animated hand gesture, leaning forward, flushed face to show a rush of blood. So from this, we can learn certain ways and techniques and methods that we can use to diffuse the situation. First things first, when you are calm, you are able to be more regulated and more responsible with your own reaction. And when you are reacting more responsibly and calmly, you have a better chance of reflecting that calmness onto the other person. You do not want them to reflect their negative response to you. So first things first, you have your own anger management tips and methods up to speed. You can't manage others if you can't manage yourself, right? So you start with yourself. You do something, use methods that you find helpful to help yourself cope with your emotions first. Then you are able to regulate and control your gestures accordingly. Now, having said that, you can use different gestures to come across as cool, calm, and collected, even if you are not. If you have seen my other videos, I've mentioned a few gestures. For example, open palm gesture, steeple position, not raising your voice to match the other person who's a bit more agitated, angry, and aggressive, leaning back, having open body, not really having defensive gesture, not having too much of self-comforting gestures like rubbing yourself, rubbing your face, touching your nose. So let's have an analysis of how Mr. Charlie Kirk shows a bit of humor, a little tinge of sarcastic reaction, but at the same time, controlled response. Let's have a look.
For debating college kids who are unprepared to speak in front of an audience like yourself. Hold on. You're 30 years old. We can agree you're 30 years old, right? Do you think that's a little bit silly?
Are you a voter?
I am a voter.
Oh, so I vote you.
So Mr. Charlie Kirk does not raise his voice to a higher volume than the person who has asked him the question. All he asks is, so are you a voter? Simple tone of voice. When he emphasizes a point, he has that ring gesture as well. President Trump does it as well. When you want to emphasize a point, you can have that ring gesture. Remember not to have both hands up more than 3 to 5 seconds, otherwise you come across as over animated. And when there's a rush of blood, when you're over animated, there's a higher chance of you losing control. So you want to have that one hand you could hold something to prevent yourself from putting overly animated gestures. The other hand, emphasize the point by open palm gesture, ring finger, or any kind of more neutralized or calm gesture. Maybe palms down, open palm, or even just pointing to a particular object to emphasize the point. For example, you're showing the crowd, hey, look at plenty of people here coming to observe me. pointing to your heart, or whatever kind of gestures that you feel might be suitable to make yourself feel more calm and to showcase to the rest as well that you are in control of the conversation. Let's carry on.
Vote. So I'm talking to voters of this country that will determine the future of Western civilization. That's what I'm doing here today. Yeah? Wait, hold on. How is it any different than a professor talking to you?
Is a professor talking to you?
How is it different? Any different from a professor talking to you? Within a split second, eyebrow raise, a little bit of a sarcastic kind of mockery kind of question. So wait, how is it different from a professor talking to you? Split second. So a slight annoyance there, but he still maintains his composure by not raising his voice, not leaning forward too much, having his hand firmly gripping the microphone. One sign of nervousness is if you are moving your microphone too much, and if you notice hands clasping too hard, you can see the muscle, the veins becoming more tensed up. The muscle definition in the forearms tensing up shows that you might be losing control. But for Mr. Charlie Kirk's situation, cool, calm, leaning back, that just split second of annoyance, but back to his composed manner, right? Let's just carry on and analyze further.
Who are you?
Well, important enough for you to come up to a microphone.
Actually, when I first saw this ad...
Who are you? Important enough for you to come up to the microphone to address me. Smile. Maintaining eye contact with the person that has asked you the question to show respect. At the same time, to show that you are not afraid to engage. The moment you have a split second look around, you can come across okay that you are a bit off, a bit more nervous, but at the same time, too much of aggression, eye contact with a particular person can come across as overly aggressive. In certain cases, yes, it's good because you want to show that you have the power. If there's a crowd, it's always good to have like a look at the person who's just next to the person who's addressing you, to come across as engaging everyone. Even though you are not engaging everyone, it comes across that you are speaking to everyone. So you are showing everyone respect, but at the same time, having more eye contact with the person that has asked you the question. It's about, I guess, around 80-20, 80% focus on the person that has asked you the question and 20% to the people around next to that person. Let's carry on.
And I thought it was like an improv comedy thing. It looked so ridiculous that I didn't even think it was real.
Well, no, you can see. Look how popular Trump is.
You pause for a moment. When someone asks you a question, and if you feel a little bit upset, frustrated, pause for a couple of seconds before you answer. Allows you to gather thoughts, and it makes you come across as more cool, calm, and composed, even if you are not.
On your campus, how does that make you feel? That's not comedy. That is a 5-alarm fire for Kamala Harris, because she's probably going to lose Pennsylvania.
Look.
He emphasizes a point by putting up his ring finger and gesturing to the person that asked him the question, and putting his hands down again. He doesn't over gesticulate to come across as too animated, and it's always upright posture. Chin not at your sternum, but chin away from your sternum. Upright posture to show that he's in control. Cool, calm, and collected. Eye focused on the girl has asked him the question. Microphone firm. You notice his grip there.
But no, I just want to be clear. Is there something wrong with talking to voters?
No, there's nothing wrong.
So you emphasize a particular point. I would like to ask you a question. Is there something wrong talking to voters? So when you emphasize a particular point, put in your gesture to really focus on that particular point. Is there something wrong with talking to voters? Key point, key words, talking to voters. He wants to emphasize that point. Talking to voters. So when you are having that gesture at the key point, it makes people remember that key point. So it's very important. When you want to emphasize a key point in your speech presentation, have that gesture. Here I am. This point is important, like what he did.
With talking.
Well, that's what we're doing here today. It's an open
I
mic.
think that you push a danger.
That's what we are doing here today. Remember, open palm gesture, one of the best gestures to use to come across as honest, sincere, polite, even if you are feeling nervous, agitated, frustrated deep down inside. Can never go wrong with open palm gesture. Just remember to not over animate. For example, if you get it above your head, then you start to have that rush of blood. There's a higher chance of you putting in more aggressive gestures. So remember, have your open palm gesture in the heart zone, from your chin to your belly button, right? And remember, it's always also good before you answer a question, take one deep breath. You don't want to, if you do not want the other party to know that you're taking a deep breath, of course you can just in and out through your nose, right? That's it. You don't have to consciously raise your shoulders. Just a diaphragmatic breathing process. In through your nose, out through your nose, right? You don't have to have your regular belly breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. You don't have to have that. In through your nose, out through your nose, and you answer the question. It only takes you a couple of seconds. That's fine.
Dangerous agenda.
Such as?
So another thing he did here was he would like to engage further, and he shows the other person who has asked him the question that he's interested to engage by slightly leaning forward. You notice that? He leans forward slightly. Leans his head forward, such as showing interest that and respect to the person that asked him the question, such as, can you elaborate? So when you want to show respect to the other person that you are listening and you are interested in what they have to say, lean forward slightly. You lean forward too much with too much of aggressive gestures. For example, you have 3 gestures in one. For example, you lean forward, your volume goes a bit higher, and you have your fist or no or pointing gesture, then you come across as aggressive. But you lean forward, eye contact firm, but your voice remains calm, not higher than the other person. You come across as showing the person respect. You're interested, but at the same time, you're not aggressive. That is the key.
Stance on abortion rights, for example.
Here we go.
So after the girl mentions about the key things that upsets her, abortion rights, and there's no pause, she keeps on talking, he nods his head to acknowledge that he has heard what she has to say. So it's always good to acknowledge by nodding. A lot of times people just have the eye contact, but they forget that if the other party is continually speaking, you have to acknowledge to show them that you are interested and you have that respect. So you nod occasionally. You also do not nod all the time. People make the mistake by just keep nodding all the time, like this nodding dog. Yes, 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 yes. No, just after key points, like what this girl has mentioned, abortion rights. Just after that point, she keeps on talking. Other points, you do not really have to keep nodding all the time. So this is a very good example of being in control of someone who's a bit slightly frustrated, showing signs of annoyance, slight aggression. It's how you be in control. The rest of the question and answer is mainly with Mr. Vivek Ramaswamy, which we might carry on in another video. So there you have it. Body language analysis of Mr. Charlie Kirk. Remaining cool, calm, and composed. Being asked a question by a college student. See you next time.